Let's get back to the Pittsburgh Steelers conversation with Boswell, with how fantastic he is. Another AFC North matchup, another tough place to kick. Thursday Night Football against the Cleveland Browns. There's a little bit of sauce on this one because Myles Garrett, now we did not get to hear the clip. We read the quote late before the show, so we did not get to hear the delivery. I think he said he didn't appreciate the way Tej acted, but not winning.
That's right.
Defense Player of the Year. Maybe he should apologize to me. Is the quote written? We did not hear it. We are fans of Myles Garrett. We appreciate Myles Garrett, but it's a big one against the Cleveland Browns. And Myles Garrett and TJ Watt are a massive piece of the story. Let's go to some stats we got from Hembo, shall we?
Nice.
Disrupted dropbacks. Jage, when you hear that, what is your first thought?
My first thought is stupid stat. What does that mean?
Okay, so it is not a stupid stat, I will have you know. Just like AJ in the first hour of the show said, I don't want to hear common opponent's stupid stats either. Okay, this is a good one. Disrupted dropback is a stat that takes into account sacks, interceptions, batted passes, passes defended, and tipped passes.
Okay.
So disrupted dropbacks.
Yep.
They disrupt the play immediately.
So it's real stats.
Feels like
not made up stats. Those are real stats that you can actually count. They're not like percentages or like pressures or.
Feels like it. From Hembo, feels like that's what it is. Myles Garrett and TJ Watt have been head and shoulders above everybody for the last 8 years. And then the last couple of years, Trey Hendrickson, also in the AFC North, has snuck his way into the statistics. But TJ obviously has a massive lead on this. He's a huge disruptor. How do you see this particular game going? And is it Myles Garrett and TJ Watt deciding who wins this game?
I mean, I think the first thing I would say about it is there's zero problem whatsoever with Myles Garrett. He's an unbelievable player. TJ has zero problem with him whatsoever. He thinks he's an unbelievable player. This has never been about Myles Garrett or if he's worthy or if he's a great player or any, like, that is undisputable. He's a phenomenal player. It's more just about the overall system and the voting and things like that. That's what that was last year. Nothing, zero rivalry there with the guy. But I think this game, a lot of people are saying that this is a typical trap type game, coming off a massive win against the Ravens for that first place spot in the division, going on the road on a Thursday into the Browns, who aren't having the best year, but obviously it's still the AFC North. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think Tomlin's record on Thursday nights are great.
Now, in the division, against a division team on the road on Thursday night, not good. Not good.
Yeah, so like that's one of those things that all these things, you can't ignore all of this stuff and you have to add it together. But there is something different about this Steelers team a little bit that it feels, even in that 11-0 team a couple of years ago, this team does seem to just feel like they kind of putting all the pieces together at the right time. We'll see, though. I mean, we'll see. It's going to be a good game. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it's another good one on Thursday night, which we're pumped about. Go ahead, Age.
Jage, so AQ hates the Steelers offense. Can you try to tell us like why he should not hate this offense? He loves the defense, but he says this offense is just not his thing.
Jeez.
Well, what are his reasons? Well, take the glasses off, Grandpa.
Yeah, take the readers off. Yes, he did.
But yes, any bald stooge you do get compared to, just like any fuckboy white I get compared to. It's kind of a part of the game and the whole thing. And I think you do look good with the glasses. But you did say earlier, to AJ's point, with Russell Wilson coming into his own, George Pickens is now who we thought he was. They're running the ball. Freiermuth is getting utilized in a fashion in which he hasn't been utilized offensively. What do you not like? It's just the offensive line you're worried about?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I think Broderick Jones has a long way to go. And I mean, they keep asking him questions to Tomlin. Tomlin's sticking by him. Hey, we're going to ride with him. But it's consistently. And I think, they got young guys across the board. They've had a ton of injuries. That's not saying anything, but it is what it is. Everybody has injuries, and the guys that have come in, I just don't think they have the makings to go. And I think Russell Wilson, at the end of the day, is a 50% passer. He throws a bunch of moon balls, and yeah, you make some plays, but I think in order to win a Super Bowl, I don't think they have the offense to do so.
Yeah, I think he's strictly offensive line, because if you look at the team.
Do you think that the Ravens can win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think they have more makings. I do. I think they have more makings. I think they have one piece on their offensive line that McCarry that probably, they could have a better piece in there at that guard spot. But I think the other four are really good. I think their skill position's incredible. I think, the one thing that concerns me is the opposite, is the defensive secondary for the Ravens, right?
But I think AQ, Jage, here, his big take, and always has been this, you got to have a Super Bowl quality offensive line. Like, obviously, you have to have a championship caliber defense, which is a massive piece of the conversation as the season rolls on in the NFL. Because the offense steals the convo, but inevitably, when the games matter, got to have a defense. Got to be able to have a championship defense. Nobody talks about it till late. AQ says nobody talks about the fact you need an offensive line. If you don't have an offensive line, you're going to get exposed at some point. I think that's your big takeaway for the Steelers.
100%. And I think the biggest thing, Jay, you can talk about this too. Like, the one thing that your casual fan doesn't understand is the difference between December and January football, right? And I think it always comes down, you can look at the Kansas City Chiefs every single year, and they have all these shiny trick plays, and they do all these things. But whenever they go in the playoffs, what do? They line up and they run power, and they smash you in the mouth, and they're trying to bury you and punish you on every single play.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think the trenches are hands down underrated, especially when it comes to the national discourse about football and once you get later in the year especially. But I do think their defense, the game that I always keep going back to that the Steelers, if someone's going to give me pause, it's this one, was that Cowboys game where they had a chance to win the game and all they had to do was make a stop, basically 75 yards, and they didn't. And that's the one that I go back to where I say, man, that one's the one they didn't close out. But as they've gone on here, they have been closing these games out now. They've won, I believe, every game since that game. So I think their defense is that good. I think their defense is that good where they literally just won a game against a team that you yourself just said is a legitimate Super Bowl contender without scoring a touchdown. So now if they do start stringing it together, and you got to remember, Russ has only played a few games with this team. He's going to continue to get more comfortable and get better. Everybody's going to continue to get in sync. So you would imagine that offense is going to get better as they go. And the defense is obviously what it is. So you start to put those things together, and you have a kicker like Boz, who, even if your offense isn't producing, he will. It does have a recipe for some very strong results.
There's a road and a recipe for it, but when push comes to shove, if your offensive line can't win a game, you're not going to win the game. You can win a lot of games, but the game, it's probably going to come back and bite you in the ass. You think about Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl. Everybody was talking about that offensive line all year. This is not his best offensive line, not his best offensive line. And then when Super Bowl comes around, Todd Bowles goes bananas. And he's like, hey, here it is. And you remember Patrick Mahomes scrambling for his life. They almost won. But in the end, it was an offensive line question. And I think that's why we were...
So you're going Lions, AQ. I assume you're going Lions, Super Bowl champs then?
I love the Lions. I love Philly out of the NFC. And I mean, the AFC is interesting. I mean, it really is. I mean, I think Baltimore's still there. I mean, Pittsburgh, because of their defense, they're going to have a chance. There's no question about that. I just think, again, when we get down to the playoffs in the game, I don't see it.